Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the supreme and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only. And while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude, but the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancés more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan, as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother, Yashoda. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and pretended the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti Devi because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way, and Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental filial love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. So these are some of the very beautiful prayers which are offered by Kunti Maharani, aunt of Lord Krishna. In the previous verse and in today's verse, she is expressing her bewilderment, how she is bewildered by the different pastimes of the Lord. In the last verse, she said, Janma karma cha vishvatman ajasya akartur atmanaha tiryan nirsheshu yadushu tad atyanta vidambanam. Vidambanam means this is very, very bewildering. Today's verse, again she says in the end, Samam vimohyati. This is very, very bewildering. These pastimes are very, very bewildering. So, we'll try to see that how these different pastimes which Kunti Maharani is speaking about are so wonderful that they again and again bewilder even a devotee like Kunti Maharani. So in the last verse we saw Kunti Maharani is explaining what is bewildering about the Lord. Janma karma cha vishvatman. My dear Lord, you are Vishvatman. You are the vital force of this whole universe. Vishva means universe. Vishva Atman means the vital force of the universe. Just like in our body, the vital force is the spirit soul, the Atma. If the vital force, if the soul goes away from this body is a dead matter. It's meaningless, useless. Now this body is very active. The moment the vital force goes away, this body does not function. Similarly, sometimes we wonder, how come everything in the universe is going on perfectly? The scientist can give you the timings. Today the sun will rise at this time. It is not that sometimes the sun will say, wait for some time, 5-minute delay. No delay. Isn't it? How come it is so perfect that not even 1 inch the sun goes away from its orbit? According to the science itself, if sun has to move 1 inch away, either the earth will be, if it moves closer to the earth 1 inch more, everything will be finished here, vanquished because of the heat from the sun. And if the sun has to move away 1 inch further, everything will be frozen here. No life again. So sometimes we wonder how everything is happening so perfectly. This is because just like this body is functioning properly because of the presence of soul, the vital force, similarly there is a vital force in this universe. He is called Vishvatman. He is the super soul of everything. He is the super soul of this universe. So, Kunti Maharani is saying, Janma karma cha Vishvatman. O vital force of the universe, you take birth and you perform lot of activities. Janma karma. Of course, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, do not think Krishna's Janma and Karma are ordinary. All of us take Janma and all of us do varieties of different activities. Any one of us here who can say, I decided my birth, I will take birth in Bangalore. I decided my birth, I will be born to such and such family. My nose should be like this. No, we cannot decide. We are all forced to take birth. We are forced to carry out different activities in spite of sometimes we are not trying to do that. We don't want to do that. But modes of material nature force us to perform certain kind of activities. But Krishna is not forced. He is not forced to take birth. He is not forced to perform any kind of activities. We perform activities because we have to gain something. Right? We want some happiness. We want to earn money. We want to earn fame. We want to earn position. Therefore we have to act. The Lord has nothing to achieve. Nothing to achieve from this world. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate Vedic literature says he has no work to perform. So this is actually bewildering. The Supreme Lord, he is called Ajasya Akartuhu. He has nothing to perform. He doesn't have to take birth. But still the Lord takes birth. The Lord comes as Krishna himself. The Lord comes as Rama, Narsimha, Vamana. Right? So, Kunti Maharani is saying, this is very bewildering. You are Ajasya, one who has no birth. Akartuhu, one who has nothing to perform. But you take birth, Janma, and you perform varieties of Leela, activities, Janma Karma. Cha Vishwatman. And you are the vital force of the whole universe, but you appear outside. You see, the Atma is the vital force. It is inside. Right? But the Supreme Lord, he is the vital force and he appears outside also. In varieties of life. Just like the Lord takes, even incarnation among the beast. The Lord takes incarnation even among the aquatics. Matsya avatar, Varaha avatar, Kurma avatar. So, Kunti Maharani is saying, this is very bewildering. And now, she is talking about in today's verse, another wonderful bewilderment, greater bewilderment. Okay, the Lord, He does not take birth, He doesn't have to perform any activities, but at least we will think the Supreme Lord is Supreme Lord and He must perform activities which are describing the Supreme Lord, which befits His position. Right? And Kunti Maharani is saying, this is so bewildering. You are performing activities just like a small child. Even Lord Brahma is bewildered. Indra is bewildered. You see? So actually, this pastime of the Lord, that even though He is the Supreme Lord, but He acts just like a small child in Vrindavan. This is even more bewildering. So Kunti Maharani is talking about these bewildering pastimes of the Lord. Once I was hearing class of Madhu Pandit Prabhu and he was explaining, actually we are all bewildered in this material world. Right? Either we can be bewildered by Maya or we can be bewildered by Krishna. We have to choose to be bewildered by the activities of Krishna, not by Maya. So, very beautifully Prabhupada explains about these pastimes in the purport. What is that bewildering? What is Kunti Maharani bewildered about these Vrindavan pastimes of the Lord? So, Prabhupada explains this very beautifully in the purport. Prabhupada says here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So in 4 important points, Prabhupada explains in the purport the bewilderment which Kunti Maharani is seeing in the pastimes of the Lord. So one she says is that actually He is the Supreme Lord in all circumstances. Not that sometimes like Mayavadis, they think, now I am not God, after performing austerities I will become God. No. Prabhupada says, God is always God and dog is always dog. God does not become dog and dog cannot become God. That is not possible. It is not that somehow by some kind of gymnastic we can become some kind of meditation we require to become God. No. We are part of God. God is always God. Prabhupada says, He is always God, even in the lap of His mother, He is God. And that is what we see in Vrindavan pastimes of the Lord. So, One of the bewilderment which Kunti Maharani is expressing is that the Supreme Lord is supreme in all circumstances. But here, in these circumstances, when the Lord is performing His wonderful pastimes in Vrindavan, He has become not supreme. He has become a plaything in the hand of His devotees. You see, you understand what is plaything? Somebody is supreme. Supreme means controller in all circumstances. But here, the wonderful pastimes of Vrindavan, the Lord has become a plaything. Plaything means as the devotee like, he can play with the Lord. You see, just like children play with the toys. Plaything. The Lord was playing with Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was considered like a plaything for the Lord. Like that, for His devotees' sake, the Lord becomes a plaything. Prabhupada gives one very wonderful pastime about this wonderful quality of the Lord. How the Lord, for the sake of His devotees, He takes even an inferior position. He is superior in all circumstances, no doubt. But for the sake of His devotees, the Lord takes even inferior position. You must have heard about this pastime many a times, but it is interesting to relate it here. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on a tour of South India, he came to Ranganath temple in South India. And there, in the South Indian this temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came across one illiterate Brahmana who was trying to read Bhagavad Gita. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that there are some other learned Brahmanas who are laughing, making fun of this Brahmana who is trying to read Bhagavad Gita sincerely. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached this illiterate Brahmana and asked him. So this Brahmana, he was trying to read Bhagavad Gita, and at the same time tears were coming out of his eyes. He was crying. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him that what is this? Why are these learned Brahmanas laughing at you? So he said, what to do? My spiritual master, he has given me an order that every day I should try to read Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, I do not know properly to read Bhagavad Gita. So I'm just trying to read Bhagavad Gita. And knowing my incompetence, these people are laughing at me. He said, that's all right. Let them laugh. But why are you crying? Just because you cannot read, why should you cry? He said, no, I am not crying because they are insulting me. I am not crying because I am not able to read. But the moment I try to read Bhagavad Gita, the picture of the Lord comes in my mind. That how great that Supreme Lord is. He is the master of everyone. But see here, for His sake of His devotee, Arjuna, the Lord has accepted the position of Sarathi, a chariot driver. Is there a friend in this world who would like to accept a position of a driver? Today my driver has not come, whole day you drive me. Isn't it? And that too is a Supreme Lord, Master of the whole universe. So he says, the moment this picture comes to my mind, tears starts flowing from my eyes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced that Brahmana and he told him, you have understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita. You see. So, this is what Kunti Maharani is relating. She is relating that actually you are the Supreme Lord in all circumstances, but in front of your devotees, you just become a plaything for them. You take that inferior position in front of them. This is very bewildering to me. Then, Prabhupada is explaining another thing which is very bewildering, is that everyone, you can see anyone, whether you go to mosque, whether you go to churches, whether you go to temple, everywhere, wherever people are going to worship the Lord, what is the state of their mind? The state of their mind is they are filled with awe and reverence about the greatness of the Lord. Everybody is going to the temple with veneration, with respect, right? Praying to the Lord. Anybody is there coming to the temple with a stick in his hand? Now, my dear Lord, I want to chastise you. I want to make you fearful. No. So, generally speaking, even Kunti Maharani is filled with awe and veneration about the Lord. She cannot dare to take up a stick and beat the Supreme Lord. Even she is filled with awe and reverence. So she is saying everyone is filled with awe and reverence. But here we see Gopya dade kritagasi damatavad. Here Yashoda Mai Gopya, she is taking a dama, she is taking a rope and she is binding you. And she is taking a stick and you are fearful. Right? So this is a special kind of worship. She is also worshipping you. But this worship is very, very bewildering to me. So this is another bewilderment which Kunti Maharani is expressing. Another she says is that everyone has to bow down his head to the Lord. Even the atheistic demons, at least at the point of death, even they have to surrender to the Lord. But here, Kunti Maharani is saying, you have surrendered to Yashoda Mai. You have completely surrendered to Yashoda Mai. Your head is Vaktram Niniya. Niniya means you are looking down as if fearful and ashamed of your offenses, what you have committed. This sight is very bewildering to me. And then she says, Bhirapi yat bibheti. My dear Lord, it is so wonderful that even fear personified, everyone is afraid. In this world, everyone is afraid. Right? Sometimes some people say, no, I am not afraid. I am not afraid of death. But let us say, one news comes, there is some terrorist who has entered. Everybody will flee from here. Right? Or there is some bomb, explosion is going to happen, earthquake is going to happen. Everybody will vacate this building. Because everybody is afraid. Everybody has fear. Why their fear? Because there is a personality called fear, which gives fear in every living entity. And that is Durga. With a trident in her hand, the material nature gives fear to every living entity. In the spiritual world, there is no fear. But in the material world, it is filled with fear. So, Kunti Maharani is saying, Bhirapi yat bibheti. That even fear personified is afraid of you. Everybody is afraid of fear, but fear personified is afraid of you. But here, you are afraid of Mother Yashoda. from your eyes, it is so much visible. There is so much fear in your eyes. Isn't it? So this sight is very, very bewildering to me. So these are the wonderful pastimes of Vrindavan, which Kunti Maharani is expressing her bewilderment about. So, we'll just try to understand about just one little bit of summary of this pastime, what exactly Kunti Maharani is actually talking about. So this very beautifully she is describing, Gopya dade tvai kritagasi dama tavad. This Gopya, it is referring to Yashodamai. So in this context, Prabhupada explains about the greatness of Mother Yashoda. Once, Vallabhacharya, one of the Vaishnavas, you all must be familiar about Vallabhacharya. He is head of Vallabha Sampradaya. So Vallabhacharya approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had written a book where he had mentioned varieties and different names of Lord Krishna. So he came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he wanted him to read. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I do not know any other name of Krishna apart from Shyamasundara and Yashoda Nandan. I do not know anything more than that. Shyamasundara, Yam Shyamasundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. It is explained about what is that Shyamasundara. So Prabhupada explains the Lord's hue, color of the Lord's body is of that of the cloud, which is bluish or blackish in color. Everybody wants to be white, right? Fair and lovely. Different kinds of soaps we apply so that we can remain fair, right? Nobody wants to be dark. Nobody wants to be black. Because black is not something beautiful, at least in this world. But the Supreme Lord, this is contradictory. The pastimes of the Lord are very bewildering. The form of the Lord is also very bewildering. That even though he is Shyama, he is Sundara. How much Sundara? Kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham. If crores and millions of Cupid, they stand on one side and Krishna stands on one side, all these millions of Cupid will bow down their head in shame with respect to the beauty of Krishna. This is Shyama Sundara. And Yashoda Nandan. Krishna becoming the son of Yashodamai and Nanda Maharaj. So, this Gopya, it refers to Yashodamai. This is the exalted position which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also showed. That actually the Lord becomes more pleased when he is called in association with his great devotees. The Lord becomes more pleased. That's why we find he is called Parthasarthi, Yashoda Nandan, Devaki Nandan. This is very, very pleasing to the Lord. So, Gopya dade Tvai kritagasi dama tavad. What did she do? Yashoda Mai, what did she do? Dama. She took up a rope in order to bind Krishna. So Prabhupada explains about these pastimes. Here also in today's purport also Prabhupada explains that Krishna would play exactly like the child of Yashoda Mai. She would never think about Krishna that he is some supreme lord or something like that. No. the Lord would play exactly like a perfect child. So what the Lord would do sometimes, Yashoda Mai, she would churn butter and she would stock up so that Krishna can remain healthy and he can eat that butter, Krishna and Balaram can eat. But what Krishna would do, he would steal that butter. We are all knowing about that pastime, Makhan Chor, one of the famous, isn't it? This is also very bewildering. No chore is worshipped in this world. Except one chore, Makhan Chor. Isn't it? All other chore, we will put shoes on him if we catch him. Isn't it? So this is also very bewildering. So what Krishna would do, he would steal butter and he would distribute it to all his friends, and he would distribute even to the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan. And they were all very happy. Krishna is very munificent, isn't he? Very benevolent. He gives butter to everyone. So Yashoda Mai, in order to teach him a lesson, she would punish him. Actually, one day it so happened that Yashoda Mai was breastfeeding Krishna. Prabhupada explains about this Damodar pastime. She was breastfeeding Krishna. And when she was breastfeeding, suddenly she had kept milk for boiling. So, when the milk started boiling, what Mother Yashoda did, immediately she took off Krishna from the lap, placed him on the floor and rushed towards the kitchen to look after the milk. So this was not at all, tolerable to Krishna. He became very angry. And then he went out, stole the butter, broke all the pots. Not only stole, he broke all the pots and distributed to the monkeys and to his friends. So then Mother Yashoda, she took up a stick and she's running behind Krishna. And finally she caught hold of the Lord. And then she binds Krishna with a grinding mortar. So seeing this stick in the hand of Mother Yashoda and seeing the rope in the hand of Mother Yashoda, Krishna is very fearful. You can just imagine, sometimes your child becomes very fearful. You take a stick and you're about to punish him. The child will be scared. And you can see that in the eyes of your child. Isn't it? So similarly, here in front of Kunti Maharani, Prabhupada is, in front of Yashoda Mai, Kunti Maharani is explaining here. Gopya dade tvai kritagasi. Kritagasi means, Prabhupada explains, the disturbances, the offenses created by Krishna by breaking butter pot. So that pastime is referred to here as Kritagasi. So what happened at that time? Tavat means at that time. Yate Dasha. What was the situation of the Lord? Dasha means situation. What was the situation of the Lord? Ashru Kalila. Eyes were filled with tears, overflowing with tears. You see. And because Mother Yashoda, in order to make Krishna look more beautiful, she used to put an ointment, kajal we say. Kajal is put, the eyes look more bright, more beautiful, more distinguished. So she had put that kajal. And because Krishna's eyes were filled with tears, it was washing away that ointment. And this sight is worshipable. The Lord is looking so beautiful in this sight. This is what Kunti Maharani is expressing. That Lord is looking so beautiful in this. Yate dashashru kalila anjana sambhramaksham. Sambhrama means perturbed. The Lord's eyes are very perturbed. Aksham means the eyes. And then what else is his position? Eyes are filled with tears. It is washing away. And vaktram niniya. Vaktram means face. When somebody is caught of his whatever offenses or whatever disturbances he is doing, then he feels ashamed. So being ashamed, the Lord is bowing down his head in front of Mother Yashoda. Vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya. And the Lord is very, very fearful. Prabhupada explains this very beautifully. By thoughts of fear, bhavanaya, bhaya bhavanaya, by the thoughts of fear. So Kunti Maharani is saying, Samam vimohyati. This is very, very bewildering to me. Why? Bhirapi yad bibheti. Even fear personified is afraid of you, but here you are afraid of Mother Yashoda. So, Prabhupada explains that actually this is another opulence of the Lord. Which opulence is this? This is another opulence of the Lord. What are the different 6 opulences the Lord has? Strength, complete beauty, complete knowledge, complete wealth, complete renunciation, and complete fame, right? Which opulence is this? Prabhupada says this is another opulence of the Lord's beauty. This is another opulence of the Lord's beauty. The Lord, He can become greater than the greatest, and He can become smaller than the smallest. Anoraniyam mahato mahyam. The Lord can occupy the position of the greater than the greatest, and He can occupy the position of smaller than the smallest. This is another opulence of the Lord. So, this opulence is actually very, very sweet opulence of the Lord. Prabhupada explains this using one of the incident which happened in Britain. So at that times, I think it was the president of Britain at that time, or Prime Minister, Prime Minister Gladstone. So, one of the officers of Prime Minister Gladstone, he visited the Prime Minister's house. Because that day it was a holiday, but somehow some urgent work was there, and he had to go to his house. So he was made to wait for more than 1 hour, saying that Prime Minister is very busy in some urgent work, very important work. So 1 hour he waited. Then he started thinking, what is that urgent and important work this Prime Minister is having in the house? Let me also see. So he was very inquisitive. He went to the window, and through the window he saw Prime Minister Gladstone has become a horse. And his grandson is riding that horse, pulling his ears. You see? So Prabhupada explains, actually he is Prime Minister, he is not an horse, but he has taken that position because that is a very sweet relationship which he has got with his grandson. That is an intimate relationship which he is exchanging with his grandson. So similarly, the Supreme Lord, even though He is the master of the universe, He takes this position, inferior position, before His devotee. Actually speaking, this is more pleasing to the Lord. When the devotee takes up a position higher than the Lord. Mayavadis want to become one with God. Prabhupada says, no, devotees don't want to become one with God. Devotees want to become more than God. And that is very, very pleasing to the Lord. So here actually we can see These are the pastimes we can see. Prabhupada explains that actually, what is the exalted position of these Vrindavan Vasis? What is the so exalted position of Yashoda Mai? That even Kunti Maharani, such a great devotee, right? Kunti Maharani's prayers are so famous. Even Kunti Maharani, she is explaining about the exalted position of Yashoda Mai. Even she is filled with awe and reverence with such kind of exchange between the Lord and Yashoda Mai. She cannot dare to take that position. So what is so great? So Prabhupada explains that actually this is wonderful. Kunti Maharani belongs to outside of Vrindavan. She is from Hastinapur. Yashoda Mai is from Vrindavan. The inhabitants outside of Vrindavan, they are trying to study the inhabitants of Vrindavan, how great they are. Even Shukdev Goswami, when he is speaking about in Bhagavatam, he is talking about that the Supreme Brahman, whose one sight, great yogis are meditating to get one sight of the Lord, and still they are not able to get one sight of the Lord. Panthastu koti shatasam. It is said in Brahma Samhita that even if they are able to make a kind of an aeroplane by which they can travel with the speed of either mind or even Vayurapi, even then the Lord remains achintya. Even then the Lord cannot be approached. So he's saying, what kind of punya, what kind of greatness these cowherd boys must be. That today, not only they are seeing the Lord, they are sitting on the shoulders of the Lord. While playing with Krishna in Vrindavan, sometimes when the Lord would be defeated, the condition would be in that play, the condition would be whoever is defeated, he has to carry the other party on his shoulder. So, Shukdev Goswami is wondering that one sight of that Supreme Lord is so much sought after by great yogis and munis. One sight also they are not able to get. And here we see the devotees in Vrindavan, the cowherd boys, not only they are getting the sight of the Lord, they are sitting on the shoulder of the Lord. This is the greatness. So Prabhupada is saying, the inhabitants outside of Vrindavan, they are trying to study the greatness of these devotees. And what are these devotees? They are trying to study the greatness of these devotees in Vrindavan. But the devotees, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they don't care about any greatness of the Lord. They don't care about greatness of the Lord. Prabhupada says that. They don't care about greatness of the Lord. When sometimes Krishna, because these friends of Krishna, they were so dependent on the Lord. And Krishna used to satisfy all their desires. Once they had a desire, it was Kamsa's big, garden of palm trees. So they smelled beautiful fruits, flavor. And they said, Krishna, we want to taste these fruits. So Krishna Balaram said, yes, no problem. And then Krishna and Balaram entered. And then there was great demon by name Dhenukasur and all his different associates. One after one, Krishna and Balaram swung them and put them on the tree. Once there was a great forest fire. And all of them were afraid. Krishna, what to do now? Krishna said, don't worry. And Krishna swallowed the whole forest fire. Every day such wonderful activities Krishna would perform in Vrindavan. And every day these boys would come back from the forest and describe to their mothers, to their parents about the wonderful pastime they had on that day about Krishna. And they would say, yes, Krishna is wonderful. And sometimes all the cowherd boys, their parents would come and they would say, Nanda Maharaj, your son is wonderful. And sometimes they would think, he must be some demigod. He must be some devata. And Prabhupada said, that is also not certain. He may be some devata. That also they are not certain about. So there is no question that they were thinking he is Supreme Lord. They were thinking he is our pet child. You see? So, Krishna is more pleased with the spontaneous attraction, with the spontaneity with which devotees in Vrindavan, they worship the Supreme Lord. So, these beautiful pastimes is what is being described here by Kunti Maharani. So, Prabhupada says, of course, in the beginning, we must have knowledge about the Supreme Lord. Without having the knowledge about the Supreme Lord, it is very difficult to appreciate the position of the Lord. But once we develop the spontaneous attraction for the Lord, actually knowledge becomes subservient. Rather, the knowledge about the opulence of the Lord, greatness of the Lord, it becomes subservient. Or it becomes even an obstacle in serving the Lord. Imagine if Yashoda Mai was always having that knowledge, no, he's not my child. He is Supreme Lord. She will not be able to have these beautiful pastimes. That intimate pastimes, just like a mother and child has. If the mother is always thinking, oh, this is my child, he is great, she will not be able to relate like mother. If all the friends are always thinking that Krishna is some great, he is Supreme Lord, they will not be able to behave like friend with Krishna. So this is another opulence of the Lord. Perfectly he behaves. Perfect friend, perfect child, perfect lover. Prabhupada is saying in the purport, for Krishna, when some devotees with awe and reverence, they are reciting the Vedic literature, they are reciting the shlokas from Vedas, and here Krishna's friends are chastising Krishna. Mother Yashoda is chastising Krishna. And even gopis are chastising Krishna. Radharani is chastising Krishna. Left and right she chastises Krishna. And Krishna enjoys that more than the Vedic hymns. When Brahmanas are chanting Vedic hymn, Krishna is not enjoying that much. Which Krishna is enjoying when Mother Yashoda is chastising, when his friends are chastising, or when gopis are chastising Krishna. Of course, this position cannot be attained very easily. This position cannot be attained without the mercy of spiritual master and Krishna himself. Prabhupada says, but this position is available. Everybody, every living entity can have this perfect relationship with the Lord. And we will never feel cheated. In this material world, in all our relationship, we feel cheated. Sometimes I quote that incident one of the devotee was telling, that once, there were two great so-called lovers who used to roam around in college, and they were very famous as couple together. They were not even married at that time, and they used to roam around. And then once they came to the temple, and they were so bitterly fighting with each other practically, and then they came to the devotee and asked the devotee that please solve this problem. So the devotee asked them, how did you, first of all get together? So then the boy was telling, I used to think she's the most beautiful lady in the whole universe. When she used to talk, it used to look like cuckoo is speaking, nightingale is speaking. Today when she talks, even one word looks like crow is crowing. I used to feel one moment I cannot live without her. Now I am feeling one moment we cannot live together. See, this is material world. Relationships of this material world. So, Prabhupada is saying, actually originally, all these wonderful spontaneous pastimes belong to Goloka Vrindavan. The Lord, He is very merciful. He has brought those wonderful pastimes from Goloka Vrindavan to this Bhaum Vrindavan, which is non-different from Goloka Vrindavan. So that all of us who are after relationship in this material world, relationship gives us real joy. Can you imagine a person alone? It is not possible. The Lord is offering eternal, blissful relationship. So, by these different kinds of pastimes, the Lord is inviting us that actually, just like Mother Yashoda is having this wonderful pastime relationship with the Lord, similarly, if we develop our spontaneous love for Krishna, it will be possible for all of us to have this wonderful relationship with the Lord. So we'll stop here. If anyone has any question, you can ask. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय.